business. If you mind your own business, then you won't be minding mine. If you mind your own business, then you won't be minding mine.
You're listening to Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM1220 KHTS, and you are listening to Mind Your Own Business, and we are here with our second guest, Zane Rose.
Zane Rose.
Yes.
Zane, how are you?
Good, good. How are you, Doug?
I wish my
Very
name
good.
was Zane in high
Yeah.
school. That would have been so cool.
I didn't like it growing up.
You can't say zany spaghetti, your meatballs are ready. This doesn't work that way.
So Zane, is this your first time on the radio?
First time on the radio here? Yes.
Anywhere?
No. Been in radio for years.
What did you do?
That was a trick question.
That was
Twit question.
1986, I believe, was the first time I was on the air. So I was on the air. I was a DJ for
What year were you
17
born?
years.
88.
Yeah, there you go.
So we
Yeah,
wanted to I met Zane.
Been on the radio longer than you've been alive, right?
Yeah.
I met Zane a few months ago through my buddy Ed Bernstein here, and
Yeah.
immediately, because I'm really into radio and other things, and we struck it up, and thought it'd be great to have you on.
Thank
Talk
you.
about your history, and a little bit later I want to get on how the industry has changed over the years. I assume it has.
Oh, absolutely, it has.
And, so what are you doing now in radio?
Actually, in radio, I'm a national. I manage a national rep firm's region out here. We handle national advertising for approximately 2,100 radio stations across the country. It sounds really big, but you basically you go to about 25, 30 different national regional advertisers, and you say, "Look, where do you want your advertising to be?" And I've got some friends that are some stations that are in some certain areas, and we'll get them put together and put some advertising.
So you're
on.
kind of, for the folks that are
And
listening,
broker?
you're kind of a broker.
Yes,
And-
I'm a middleman. Yeah,
Okay.
and in our world, it's just basically called a national rep.
Now, I know, because I'm in print advertising, it is much more difficult than it was even 5 years ago to sell print advertising than it was. How about radio? Same situation?
You're probably alluding to the fact that you've got new media that's coming into play. You've got, the Googles, you've got,
Splendid dollars being
Facebooks. All
spent.
that. It's, in some ways, but I think we've come to find out in the industry is that radio is actually a matured market. Radio in its day used to be much like what everyone treats new media as this really neat and flashy, really kind of neat.
The shiny toy.
Yeah, it's kind of the shiny toy, but no one can really kind of put their hands on it as to what it actually does. But for radio, it's a matured piece. You know what you can expect from radio, and it's also become to a place where I believe that we've seen ad budgets grow in the last 2 to 3 years, but in last year alone, we've seen a 4 to 6% increase just alone, even while the digital pieces have grown themselves. But people understand and know what radio does, so it's like, okay, here's our radio budgets. Now let's see what we get our play and shiny toy thing, and see what happens over there. But when you're really talking about live, local, something that's really going to draw someone's attention to the customer, radio is still, there's nothing better than radio. You got them in the car, especially in Southern California. I mean, look at our drive times. You can't be watching your iPad. You can't be, doing your iPhone. You can't be doing television.
You're not
right there in
supposed
your
to
car.
anyway.
You're not supposed to anyway. That's called distracted driving, and especially in April,
Make
when
it.
all of the officials are all going around going, "Look, distracted driving. I'm going to pull you over, give you a ticket." So how else what's the one thing they don't mess with is radio. And the other thing is deliveries within all the new media stuff. One of the fastest growing pieces of all of the online streaming,
Streaming radio.
yeah, they're going to the radio stations because it's content that people really want to hear.
Yeah, it's local.
And it is local. It talks to them because if I want to hear my favorite 10 songs nowadays, pull up my iTunes or whatever
Right.
and listen to them. I don't need to have Pandora pull them out for me. But as a matter of fact, speaking about Pandora, they're hiring local ad salespeople like crazy. Why? Because they realize local, live, as best they can. They're trying to combat what radio already has.
It's relevant.
Yeah, they're very relevant.
So people should buy radio advertising still, you think?
Absolutely. You're missing
How do you
out.
track it? How do you track whether it's working? You do AdWords saying, say, Zane said come in and give them a free ice cream? Or how does somebody know when radio is working well for them from a conversion standpoint? Branding-wise, they know.
That's a good question. The thing is how you use radio. There are different buckets of advertising, and you know that about as well as anybody, Ed. But if you're focused on the tracking piece, yes, give them some content, give somebody a reason to do a call to action.
Right.
I will do this for you if you'll come in my store and at least take a look. Or I will do this discount for you if you come in and buy my stuff. Come take a look, let's talk across the board. That's what radio does, it brings people in. On the other bucket side, though, you've got branding. You know, a plumber, I don't need a plumber, but maybe once ever so often. But the thing is when I need one, I need a plumber.
It's top of mind. You're
And
driving
so
down the road and your sink's like
who's
that.
been talking to my head while I'm driving around
The
town?
non-stinky plumber?
Yeah, see, that he's branded in your head,
Exactly.
though. See,
What
and
do
you know,
think
at
of it?
least
I
when
know
you
you know
see
the name of the guy's
numbers,
company. I just know his guys don't smell.
that's, you know, okay.
It worked.
It's worked.
Kinda.
They've put that in there, but that kind of bucket of advertising is called branding. He's not telling you, oh, you know, you need to come and call my smell good guy and have a talk with him.
I
Why?
remember going back to 80s. I had a friend named Alan Mandel that worked for KGIL.
Okay.
And he says, have you heard of Circuit City? And I said, no, I haven't. He says, by next week you will. And they all bought radio on all the radio stations. And within, you remember Circuit City had tons of advertising, and they were branded immediately, and they were everywhere. So if you have enough money, they usually do radio first.
Radio has the best ability to actually speak your message clearly and succinctly into the mind of the possible consumer. It really, truly is. If you're driving on the road, no offense to those who are doing on the billboards or anything, you've got 4 to 6 seconds. You see that billboard, you got to make a decision. You got to, you know,
Right.
On radio, you can tell your story. And here's one of the things that I've known in my 26 years of advertising we've had. Facts will tell. You're asking about tracking. Facts will tell. Stories sell.
Right.
I don't have 4 seconds to tell my story.
On a billboard.
I got 30 seconds or a minute on the radio. On television, they're 15s and 30s. You get a 60-second commercial on television, and I'm already asleep by the time the first 10 seconds is done. Why? Because I'm either interested or I'm not. But in
You're flipping the
radio,
channel.
you get to tell your story. It's very valuable.
Saying you should be in sales.
I believe, I believe in
Consulting.
in radio.
Yeah.
I've actually been a person that's I've been doing this since I was able to get a hold of a microphone.
Since the first Christmas.
All right, are you able to hang on over
Not
the
quite
break?
that. Yes, sir.
All right.
We're not going to let them leave.
We want to talk about your website and venture here a little bit when we come back. We've got some questions for you so we can get to know you a little better.
All right.
And I also want to find out how you made the transition from behind the mic to the business side of things.
Oh, what a story. Oh, okay. Yeah,
Okay.
we
So
can
when we
do that.
come back, we'll have to
Probably
squeeze all that
economics.
in. Yeah, which guys make more money? This side of the mic or
sales
the
guy or
other?
the one in front of it?
It's an interesting story. It is.
All right, everybody, we'll be right back. You're listening to Santa Cruz Hometown Station, AM1220 KHTS. It's Mind Your Own Business with Doug and Ed.
If you're not in
Back
the car,
a few.
download the app.
Mind your own business and you won't be minding my business. If you mind your own business and you